Hi, this is John Gelfand following up with a very quick addendum for authorities regarding the beyond anti-Semitic hate inflicted against my family and far beyond, including attacks against our systems and institutions. This is, again, a supplement. As the first point is the ongoing delays and the redirected claims that as everything has been blatant lies. You can see in prior evidence videos the suppression of my blood work when I was instead deemed as a psychotic break, and then the change here in claiming with meth, and also the delays as turning over the treatment records. I had granted access to my ex-wife, and then also in the police reports, where you can ask whether or not she had access to the police report. Again, these claims were months of delays and overbilling. Also, further information on the drug testing that went on for months, and the threat of the PRE. And then, as I showed here, I was tested on the day of the incident when I was separated from my family, taken away more than 3 years ago, from which I've never been able to speak to my now ex-wife or my youngest son even once ever since. And the reference to my blood work that shows I had no meth in the system. And again, was suppressed. Again, ongoing delays. We're all the way now to the end of May. And this is also going into Memorial Day weekend, where, as you can see on Talking Parents, I was, the weekend was ruined as I was forced to answer questions to Talking Parents. And then at the same time, the interrogatories that followed the day after on 6/1, Tuesday, and yet were submitted May 27th, the Thursday before, and delayed, as again, I spent the entire weekend on Memorial Day working on questions that can be seen on Talking Parents, and has been a majorly attacked holiday every single year, as with other attacks against our military, including direct attacks against my dad's service as Lieutenant Commander in the Navy and far beyond. Also delaying mediation, and more to this, and also too, with the delay, saying it would delay interrogatories that were also months and months of delays and didn't. And then the temporary protection order that was vacated, and again goes to the child alienation with my children that has been so hideously exhibited in other videos, and then turning over the interrogatory responses that he then used at the end of June to depart, as you can see, as my attorney, forcing me to another divorce attorney. This is from the deeply colluded sadistic psychiatrist who was willing to cheat the mental health system in parallel with my bankruptcy, which when I refused was a major factor in forcing me to file the bankruptcy. But this is the letter he was willing to write and submit to the courts as a means to be wrongfully obtained sanctions, which I've discussed on other videos as well. And this beyond human letter. And then also not addressing the criminal case in the same time period as the forced bankruptcy. That's on February 15th. Again, further avoidance to the criminal matters going on, as well as I've exhibited elsewhere, the deferring to our government, as this has been directed as my informing having been a personal case, which it wasn't, as the FBI knows. But again, the acknowledgement here, which is kind of contradictory to the claims in the initial report of the FBI and Republicans after he purchased the gun which I purchased 3 weeks prior to the family separation, 2 months after informing, forced into buying as a means to appease my family, the A-17, and it goes much deeper with the gun denial that is discussed in my email. Also, again, with the settlements and delays here, and the conversation that I had with my attorneys, as meanwhile, the sadistic psychiatrist was willing to claim I'm completely delusional, and all the redirecting to my children that is so extreme, such as with the false claims I stole their savings and shortly thereafter education funds, even the premeditated use of the bank records that were provided to my son, and as can be seen, was withdrawn because of the $30,000 check that I've exhibited and has been discussed into that account just a month before. And yes, I took $7,000 out. That left $23,000 that was stolen, and also, of course, left my kids' savings intact. There's much more on that. The threat of the permanent protection order as well on February 18th, another one in parallel, which, while you saw the TPO had been dropped, was again used in a massively conspired, forced, and unwarranted bankruptcy. And then some of the issues I was trying to address at the time, while the sadistic psychiatrist was willing to claim complete delusion, putting me on Vraylar, that is a black label warning, not only isn't for use with dementia, but is known to lower white blood cell count. And again, I refer back to the heavily being drugged on something that's not on the 12-panel test, and my virtually nil white blood cell count. The unsuspending John's cell phone, which I found out in my DV class is DV, along with a dozen other DV violations, the spend on the bank accounts with the children, etc. And also the no contact order on February 21st, again, with the threat, not only the threat of the permanent protection order, but you can see here trying to further disconnect me from even the court-ordered method of contacting my wife by changing my password on Talking Parents. And then you see the contradicting from my son, who claimed that it was only a temporary no contact, which that needs to be addressed further, but certainly isn't a PPO, as was threatened, and it needs to be asked if my wife knows about the permanent protection order, my ex-wife. And then again, further obstruction, the stealing on the first walkthrough avoided, when the actual stealing was no doubt the dear friend and was my 4th-generation family heirloom 20K wedding ring, so stolen from me. And then the defamation against my ex-wife, consumed with hatred, and blaming her for putting my son in the middle at the utterly sadistic final civil assist. And And then this is on December 11, 2023, a week before I was dropped from my DV class, which his premeditated manner was due to the switch, and then dropped from the class, which needs to be addressed as to why they did that. I've been on drug and alcohol testing for 8 months, which actually began even a month before. I was still waiting for my response from Fulton on the second probation transfer denial that, as I've exhibited with Gwinnett and such, were false probation transfer denials showing they were never requested. And again, dropped from the class. And then, as I showed before, the TPO that had been dropped with the child alienation, and then the extreme child alienation that forced a misdemeanor plea, and also led to 6 months court-driven child alienation by the judge, all of which has been explained in prior videos. And the acknowledgement here, my kids weren't on the witness list. And then also, again, with the redirected claims of all the pain, suffering, and torture inflicted against my family to such extremes, even includes blaming me for attacks against myself, but not wanting a divorce, part of a 32-page document, never to share the rest, as well as a clear acknowledgement here. And not only that, but the attempt to put me in agreement with the divorce that I was forced to file with the threat of the permanent protection order and more. And then the claim that it doesn't matter who wanted the divorce or that I filed first. He's made clear the decision. And as to the child alienation, the wrongful belief by my son that it was me who wanted the divorce, and flat out acknowledgement, my ex-wife never wanted a divorce. So whether it was irretrievably broken and she wanted a divorce as claimed by her ex-wife attorney, that needs to be known, as I believe the whole divorce was forced. But either way, the fact that my son believes I was the one wanting the divorce goes way, way beyond the child alienation that is already considered extreme child abuse in Colorado. Same thing with the bankruptcy, believe that I did it on purpose to force my family into homelessness, and some other quick points on context from my son showing the defamation here with the bankruptcy as well, that I did it intentionally. The notion being that I had attorneys file a wrongful adversarial complaint with a false POC to be used to steal my home by attorneys, and then dropped so that the home could then be stolen from my family by attorneys. That $1.4 million went somewhere. It needs to be addressed. Also, the redirected blaming even for the direct attack against my dad's proudest moment of my life. This has to do with Annapolis graduation. Again, blamed for. And the Broken Eagle, another family heirloom, the first thing left out at the Civil Assist, and ties back to John Randolph from the Civil War, military hero. You can look it up. And if you saw my son's face at the Civil Assist when I turned to him after seeing this, I'm telling you right now, this group would go down as traitors. I hope that you will help me.